How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am back for the last video for Ace Month. Now, I showed a Golden Age t-shirt that I bought at Comic-Con last week. Here is the other one that I got. The Phantom Lady. Yeah, she is hot.
Yes, she is.
Stop that. And honestly, that is the main reason I bought the t-shirt. And just as I said last week, I got this from the World of Strange. And if you're interested in buying any of the t-shirts or seeing their YouTube, here is some of the information for the back of the card. So if you're interested in this, you can pause the video right there and see all the info. Okay, let's get back to
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Well, technically it would be Lost Villains of the Golden Age, because we're doing villains this time. Yes, in the 1940s, villains didn't stick around for very long. They were usually one and done, or if it was a continuation story, they would last 2 issues. So, villains didn't stick around very long, but sometimes heroes are only as compelling as the villains that they fought. Now, in Ace, they didn't have a lot of recurring villains, but they did have a couple. Lash Lightning, Magno, and Captain Courageous in particular fought some reoccurring villains, but they didn't last for very long. These villains were usually intelligent, highly adept, and very good at what they did. And they usually put the hero in precarious situations. Now, the main reason that villains were one and done, or sometimes 2 and done, was because if the hero had to be recapturing the same villain over and over again, they would look very ineffective, because how can you be successful if you're recapturing the same villain over and over again? Which was actually the thought in the early Batman comics, which is why he killed villains in his early issues instead of recapturing them over and over again. In fact, the Joker was only supposed to appear in 2 issues and then be done. He wasn't supposed to be reoccurring. Now, I know we're talking about Ace, not DC, but that's just to give you an idea of why villains didn't stick around for very long. But I've scoured the pages of Ace, and I have found a couple of reoccurring villains. So this is going to be the main theme of this one. This will be
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Well, yeah, but I'm retitling it different. It's going to be Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, featuring the villains. Let's get this one started. So let's start off by covering villains that were in every publication that almost every Golden Age hero had to deal with at one extent or another, whether it was one time or multiple times. And the patriotic superheroes did fight them more than any. It is the Nazi Party. Now, if you've watched my Golden Age videos for a long time, and I have many of them up there, you will notice that I have mentioned them fighting Nazis, and just about every single one of them did. Now, a lot of them weren't focused on the Nazis. The patriotic superheroes were mainly focused on fighting the Nazi Party up until the end of World War II, and that's where their focus would start to change, and they would fight more crime lords and street level villains. But the Nazi Party was such a large subset of villains, and it was a propaganda maneuver to keep people interested in the war and keep people, invested in keeping our troops over there, buying war bonds, and having the Nazi Party being a main antagonist for people was something that everybody could rally around. So Nazis come in on the list of villains because they were everybody's villain. Now, the 2 we're going to cover right now are 2 villains of Lash Lightning. Mastermind and the Werewolf, both of them had 4 appearances. Now, the Mastermind would appear in Lash Lightning's comic books, where the Werewolf would appear in 4 favorites. Let's go ahead and go over the Mastermind. The Mastermind first appeared in Lash Lightning Volume 2, Number 1, and would appear in the first 4 issues. Now, he was on the cover of the 5th issue, even though he did not have an appearance in that. To basically go over the Mastermind, he did share the same powers as Lash Lightning, with the having the lightning powers. The added thing for the Mastermind is he was a brilliant scientist and developed mind controlling abilities, so he was able to tell people what to do. Now, he did make Lightning succumb a number of times, whether it was with sedative or with some poison, but Lash Lightning would always come through and prevail in the end. Now, in the first appearance of the Mastermind, it looked like he plunged to his death, and he came back. The second and third appearance, he was captured and thrown in jail. Now, it's curious about the 4th and final appearance. Lash Lightning did in fact beat him and knocked him, and they were on a battleship over the ocean, and Lash Lightning knocked him out, but we did not actually see the final results of what happened to Mastermind. Lash locks him out and says, "You'll have no more trouble with him," and then the comic ends. Doesn't say the final fate of Mastermind, but I guess since Lash Lightning beat him again, well, there you go. Don't have more trouble with him. Now let's go ahead and go over the Werewolf. Now, the Werewolf is Adolf Kermitz. He, well, like I said, he battled Lash Lightning. He appeared in 4 issues. It's kind of weird because he appeared in the first 2 issues of 4 favorites, skipped number 3, and then appeared in 4 and 5. I mean, heaven forbid you give him 4 issues in a row. Now, in his very first appearance, he had a major vendetta against people in the army because they made fun of him because of his appearance to a wolf, which we would later find out that he was a werewolf that could change at will, so he didn't need the full moon. He had some enhanced strength when he was a werewolf, causing him to be able to carry multiple people at one time and leap far distances. So he accidentally killed someone, and that would have been, well, they say that he was in a military academy in 1921, and then he revealed himself in 1941, but in the comic book it said it was, the general was like, it was 30 years ago. So somebody's not getting their dates right. Anyways, he planned to take his revenge against the general and the people that he was classmates with. They're not going to make general in 20 years. 30 years makes more sense. So he takes revenge of them by setting off a bomb during a parade. He kidnaps the daughter and the generals. Lash Lightning defeats him. And then in the second appearance, and he appeared to die in the first appearance. Second appearance, he has a vendetta against the army, of which he gets stopped. The third appearance, he has more of a vendetta against Lash Lightning, which he gets stopped. And in his fourth appearance, has to do with a scientist wanting to steal the werewolf's money, and then, I guess, and then the werewolf tries to take revenge. Him and Lash come into a fight where the wolf ends up diving at Lash Lightning, him moving out of the way, and the werewolf falling into a chimney of bubbling cauldrony stuff, which he's never seen from again, so we assume that he died. Now, it is not all that common for patriotic superheroes in the Golden Age to have an arch-villain, but it does happen from time to time. Captain Courageous had his own with Captain Nippa. Captain Nippa was actually a Japanese operative, and he worked against the Allied forces, and he was completely ruthless in how he accomplished his task, doing anything that was possible. Now, he did not have any superpowers, and he wore a hook on his hand. Now, there is an appearance issue with this, just how I mentioned it with Mr. Risk. They have him in 7 appearances, with his last one being in 4 Favorites number 23. He's actually also in 4 Favorites number 24. Nippa was captured shortly after Captain Courageous stopped being the superhero and stopped being a naval operator. And the main reason for that is you're part of the Navy. You don't have arch villains when you're in the military. They may have had a couple of storylines with that, but they were trying to trail away from that. At the end of World War II, the superheroes were falling out of favor. So he actually has 8 appearances, with one of his appearances being 24. Now, I understand how you could have missed this. He's only like in one panel where you see his face, and then you see a silhouette where he's finally being hanged, where he is taken care of once and for all, so that Captain Courageous could be the naval operator. But 8 appearances, non-powered, Japanese ally. He mainly wanted to get the Allied forces out of Japan, and we know how they entered the war in the first place. Now, let's cover the Cobra. He only had 4 appearances, and in his first appearance, he seemed like your run-of-the-mill criminal. He was green, dressed like a cobra, and didn't seem to possess any types of power or anything that remotely made him the Cobra, other than the fact that he had green skin. His real name is Leo Morez, and he appeared... Now, they say Super Mystery Comics number 10, but Super Mystery Comics didn't do their comics like that. They broke up their comics into volumes that were 6 comics apiece. Now, he appeared in Super Mystery Comics Volume 2, 4, 5, and 6, and then Volume 3, Number 1. But they list his as being 10 through 13, which is not the case. Super Mystery Comics didn't do comic books that high. I don't know why they broke it up into volumes, but that is the case. They also did the same thing when they numbered the Clown, how he was in, saying 9 and 10, oh, not 10, 7, 8, 9, 23, 24. Super Mystery Comics didn't do that. They were 6-issue volumes. So the way that they've listed the appearance of the Cobra and the Clown is actually completely incorrect. But I just told you, Super Mystery Comics Volume 2, number 4, 5, and 6, and Volume 3, number 1 was the appearance of the Cobra. Now, on his descriptional pages that I'm looking at, they did not give him much of a story at all. They said that he was just a fanged Nazi agent who dressed in green and brown snake outfit with poison claws. That's completely incorrect. He was green-skinned and did dress in a Cobra outfit, but he didn't appear to be a Nazi operative. He's actually American from everything that I can see. He never has the V's in his name. He never shows to be part of a foreign power. And they only mention that he works for the Axis in one issue. In fact, in his first issue, he is a saboteur. And in his second issue, has nothing to do with war at all. He's actually bombing schools, because we get a bit of an origin story, how he was kicked out of school, stealing from a teacher, and after he got expelled, his parents beat him. And that's a bit of an origin story for him. In the future, he kidnaps the president. He kidnaps the president of a school, and then he starts blowing up schools. In fact, he blows up a couple of schools before Magneto is able to stop him, which is very disturbing because they don't mention whether the schools are full of children or not. That's, I mean, the principal, yeah, I said president, I meant principal. Principal even says, I'm not going to blow up the school and kill all the children. And then the Cobra goes, fine, I will. And throws the switch and blows the school up. They never said whether the school was empty. Now, he didn't have any Cobra-like issues or Cobra-like things in the first issue, but in his last 3 appearances, he had poison claws, but they never said whether he had poison fangs. And in his last issue, he looks for this amulet of power that he eventually gets and causes massive destruction on it. And then he gets defeated at the end because he gets stuck in some marshes that he can't get out of, and he uses the amulet on himself. And after they stop the Cobra, the amulet is destroyed, and we find the pieces of it says, for those who uses the amulet on himself destroys the amulet. They keep throwing him in jail, and he kept getting out. Yet in his 4th appearance, they throw him in jail again, and that's the last we hear of the Cobra. I mean, he seemed a bit effective for a while. He did kill people. He did accomplish some of his objectives. So, as a crime boss, he was proficient. But in the end, he fails like all villains do. And now we come to probably the villain who had the most appearance in Ace Comics, the Clown. He had a total of 22 appearances between appearing in Super Mystery Comics and 4 Favorites. The Clown is remarkably smart. In his first appearance, he doesn't appear like he's from a foreign power, but he doesn't seem to be American either. He's intent on burning a flag, and Davy calls him a traitor, and he's just like, American ideals. So he doesn't seem to be American, but he doesn't state that he's from a foreign power. Now, in the 4 Favorite comics, it does show that he's working with the Nazis. So I guess he's working against America, but he doesn't seem to be a Nazi himself. There's no changing of the letters. There's no altering colors of his skin to show he's from a foreign country. So, I mean, that's all it is. He dresses like a clown. I honestly think that they got that idea from Batman, with his arch villain being the Joker. I really can't speak on that. Having the Clown is a ridiculous disguise for a villain. The Clown is remarkably smart. He is a genius in every sense of the word. His plans seem to succeed for the most part, and he probably would have been more effective if he wasn't the villain, and in the 40s comics, the villains don't succeed. He managed to always capture Magno and put him in life-endangering situations, but Magno would always overcome them in the end. In fact, in one issue, he makes a mind control belt that he gets onto Magno's sidekick, Davy, and the two of them actually commit crimes while he is mind controlled. And Magno stops him in the end because the hero always beats the villains. But if it wasn't for that trope in the 40s, the Clown, I mean, he was very successful in what he did. Very smart, very adept, which is why he had so many appearances, because a good villain, you just can't keep a good villain down. And when they show that they actually can stand up to the hero and give the hero conflict, that is actually interesting enough where you want to tune in. A hero that is unstoppable can be boring and lackluster, like sometimes Superman has been, when nobody can stand in his way. But when a hero is put in a precarious situation where their life might be put on the line against a villain who is remarkably proficient at doing it, that brings people in. It keeps them interesting. And that's actually what can make a hero even more interesting, having to go up against a criminal that can be more adept than your average one-and-done villains. So, the Clown, they've never given a backstory, never said that he was specifically working for the Axis at first. In his very last, second to his last appearance, he showed that he was actually getting, information from the Nazis through art picture frames, and a blind man was able to figure it out. His very last appearance, he didn't seem to have much of an impact. He seemed like he was trying to get this disintegrator ray that somebody else was using, who was a foreign power, was using to disintegrate people. The guy managed to avoid the Clown's grasp and avoid Magno's grasp until he jumped off a top of a 20-story building trying to get away from Magno, and it destroyed the disintegrator. But yeah, the Clown didn't really have much of a presence in his very last issue. The Clown did kill a number of people in his appearances, and kept getting captured and thrown in prison, and kept getting out again. I mean, he was very good. He's very intelligent. Like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that the heroes have to win, I think that the Clown could have succeeded in stopping Magno. Let's see, in one of his descriptions, a skilled swordman, inventor of various brainwashing technologies. He is very good at hand-to-hand combat, can use a number of different weapons, a very proficient villain. And if they ever bring back Magno or the Mystery Men, I hope that they bring back the Clown, because he could definitely be a formidable foe for all of the Mystery Men, for how proficient he is at taking on the heroes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you liked seeing the villains for a change as much as I like doing the villains. It's interesting to see where they were going with some of them. All right, that does it for Ace Month, and then we're coming up to MLJ Month. Now, I do have a couple of people in mind. I mean, there are a lot from MLJ to do, but if you have one that you want to see from MLJ Comics specifically that I haven't covered yet, you can go ahead and let me know. We can include that in the month. So, we are done with Ace Month. Let's get into MLJ on the next video, and until then, I'll be seeing you, and don't forget the World of Strange if you want Golden Age comic book t-shirts like mine. Till next time, I'll be seeing you.